We have some questions that we actually want to discuss, but we thought that it'd be interesting to bring ChatGPT in on the discussion. So first we'll ask the questions to ChatGPT to see what it says. And then, depending on its answer, we'll comment on it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be trepidatious, after after reading these excellent, bodacious responses.
I'm joined here, of course, by the one and only 𝗥𝗲𝗶𝗃𝗃.
Hey Ethan, hey Cassie.
And I would be remiss not to mention that we have someone else here in the studio, the most 𝗥𝗲 teacher in all of South Africa, of course, Cassie.
Hey guys, how's it going?
We are talking about how the generative AI technologies like ChatGPT, 𝗥𝗲𝗹𝗟𝗶 being AI, you might have heard some of these different names thrown around lately because they're taking the world by storm. And so in today's podcast, we want to talk all about whether you can use these tools to improve your English, if they're good for language learning. And if you're an English teacher, is it something that you should be worried about it? Are you going to lose your job to artificial intelligence? And we're going to answer those questions more. We're going to even talk about whether a Terminator type situation is something that could be probable, and exercises that you can use to improve your English with artificial intelligence, and so much more. So let's get right to it. So Thiago, why do they call it generative AI, these different apps that we're talking about?
Yeah, I think the name is quite self-explanatory in the sense that it generates things based on prompts that you give the tool. So you prompt the tool by asking a question or giving it an instruction, and it generates what you ask. That's why we call it generative AI.
Some good words to know, right? Prompt, like what is a prompt? Because you mentioned that a couple of times in case someone didn't get it from the context.
I guess we are talking about AI and machines. Maybe we could think of prompt as input. In order for the AI tool to give you something, you have to input some information first. So a prompt is like an input in this case, I would say.
Exactly.
And Cassie, Ethan said a very nice phrase here. He said that AI technologies have taken the world by storm. What does that mean?
Yeah, so if something takes the world by storm, it's extremely popular. People are really into it. So you could say that TikTok took the world by storm. Everyone's interested in it. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone is, at least if they're not interested in it, they're maybe just a little bit curious about it. But sorry, that's the same word. I just use synonyms. If they're not interested in it, they're curious about it. But if you're not into it, you're at least a little bit curious. You're whether for good reason or bad. Yeah.
I think too, it has that sort of feeling of it being something that comes suddenly, unexpectedly, like a storm. If you're out with your family, you're having a good time, and then all of a sudden the sky goes gray, it starts raining and thundering and stuff. Like a storm, depending where you live, sometimes they come in very quickly, right? So I think it also has that nature of it's something that almost from day to night, people were talking about all these generative AI, ChatGPT. You saw it everywhere. You saw it on TV. Your friends were talking about it. You seemed like the really weird person in the room if you hadn't tried out one of these technologies yet.
In the last 3 months, I feel like everyone's talking about it. Whether it's journalists, YouTubers, even teachers, everyone's talking about it. It's on everyone's lips, or it's the talk of the town.
It's all the rage.
So yeah. So if you're new here and you want to go from feeling like a lost and insecure English learner to being a confident, natural English speaker, then be sure to hit that subscribe button and bell down below so you never miss out on these fun podcast episodes.
So we talked about how these technologies, they're all the rage. They're the talk of the town. They're taking the world by storm, right? We've all tried them out, at least. And so I was just curious. I thought it'd be fun for each of us to describe in one word what was our experience like using these technologies.
I will have to go with mind-blowing. That's the word for me because that's how I felt when I used it for the first time.
How about you, Cassie?
I would say worrisome at first, but then I was quite intrigued. So I think my feelings evolved the more time I spent using it. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that it was very nifty. That's the word that I thought could be good to describe it. And you guys will see why in today's podcast. So,
by the way, guys, we are using some cool words here. Yeah, like mind-blowing, intrigued, nifty. If you want to learn these and more words from this podcast, check out the app. Yeah, we have interactive flashcards there that help you memorize this cool vocabulary. So download the app, Real Life English, link in the description, or you can go to Apple App Store and type it in there, Real Life English, yeah, or Google Play Store. I forgot that, yeah. Google Play Store or Apple App Store, Real Life English, and you can download the app and try it out.
So why don't we get into the main subject of today's episode, as we've been teasing it. So we thought it would be fun to actually open up ChatGPT. We actually have Ice-T, our producer, here in the studio, and he's going to share his screen, and he's going to be kind enough to ask ChatGPT for us some of the different questions. And we have some questions that we actually want to discuss, but we thought that it'd be interesting to bring ChatGPT in on the discussion. So first we'll ask the questions to ChatGPT to see what it says. And then, depending on its answer, we'll comment on it. So let's go for the first question. So the first question that we have for ChatGPT is, how can I use ChatGPT to improve my English?
Personally, I really like number 2 there. Yeah, ask me to explain grammar concepts. If there are grammar concepts that you find confusing, don't hesitate to ask me to explain them. I can provide clear and concise explanations to help you better understand. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. I like the first one. Like, you can actually practice conversing with me. You can chat with me just like you would with a native speaker, because of course, so many learners say one of their main problems is they don't have anyone to practice with. And especially even, I've had a lot of students who live in the States and they find it hard to actually meet natives, to meet people, locals, to make friends with and practice with, because they're maybe shy or they don't have those opportunities. So whether you're living in an English speaking country or not, it can be nice to have, like, you're not worried about ChatGPT judging you, right? If you make mistakes and things like that.
Absolutely. I would say like both of those, definitely. But I have to say number 3, like, practice writing with me. I think like we get so used to, especially if you're learning a new language as an adult, I think we sometimes forget about the importance of learning how to write. Like, I'm learning Chinese Mandarin right now, so like I don't want to learn the characters, just want to learn the words as like I would say it in English. And I think like with writing, in the case of English, like being able to write a really, good apology letter, or a really good, sincere sounding condolences, if someone's going through a difficult moment in their lives. So I think like this is a really great way to practice. Like, what is the tone that I should use if I want to extend some sympathy to someone who's just lost a loved one? Or, it doesn't have to be something sad. It could be something, congratulate. How do I congratulate someone on their promotion in English? So
that's a good point, because it's a doubt a lot of learners have, right? Is in this situation, what word should I use? How should I communicate? So it can be good to run it by ChatGPT. Of course, it's always good to add some of your own voice to it, but it can maybe help you if you're writing a business letter, or you're writing something more casual to a new acquaintance or something like that, to make sure that you're using the right kind of voice. Because you can even ask ChatGPT, like, write this letter with a friendly voice, or write it with a formal or professional. Or
so speaking of like using ChatGPT to like write letters or practice your writing, university officials actually used ChatGPT to craft a consoling email after the mass shooting at the university. And I thought that was really at a different university, sorry. So one university used ChatGPT to like craft a consoling email about the mass shooting, and they just copy pasted it. And, this came out and it was really disappointing. Not just disappointing, but a little bit callous, I would say, like really cold of them to have just copy pasted it. So I think that's just something to keep in mind. Don't just, as
always
Ethan
personalize.
Said, always personalize. That's
a good rule.
Yeah.
I thought I'd point out too, because the point 4 is really nice as well. If you're like especially if you're intermediate or advanced and you're starting to live your English more, you're starting to be looking for more ways that you can connect and and immerse yourself in the language. So it can recommend to you articles, books, podcasts, or videos. Maybe even you're someone who is already consuming tons and tons of these different types of media, and you're at a loss for what, I read a lot of books. What should I read next? You can ask ChatGPT. And like the interesting thing about it is it gets to know you. So you could say, I like this book, this book, this book. Give me other recommendations similar to it,
By the way, Ethan, you said something nice there. You said when you are at a loss.
If you're at a loss, it means that you're not able to come up with a solution, for example. We'd say a lot the collocation, you're at a loss for words. So something happens and you're at a loss for words. You don't know what to say. You don't know what words would be the correct ones to use in this situation. So maybe the first time that you use ChatGPT, you were at a loss for words of how to describe that experience. So we'd actually come up with some more specific ideas because this is very general, right? It's just saying, how can you help me to improve my English? It gave us some great ideas here. And we actually came up with some more specific prompts you could use, because the more specific, generally, the better answers you're going to get. And especially the more it gets to know you, the more pertinent answers to you as a unique individual it can give you. So, Kase, do you have any ideas here?
Yeah, let's ask ChatGPT. Let's start with this input, this prompt. I'm not sure how to use trepidatious in English. Can you help me with that? Trepidatious is an adjective that describes a feeling of fear or apprehension. It is often used to describe a person who is hesitant. I think this is excellent, actually, because you can get the meaning and the example sentences like within seconds. Really
This is
awesome.
the first sentence is really nice. Despite her trepidatious feelings, she decided to take the plunge and try something new. What does it mean to take the plunge?
To take the, go ahead and take the risk, take the, just do that thing that you're feeling scared or anxious about, just like a leap of faith almost. Like just take
A leap
the
of faith
plunge.
would be another. Yeah, take the leap, take the plunge. Plunge is like literally to dive into a liquid, to dive into water, right? Is you plunge yourself in the water. So you can think of it like that. It's really cold water. You're like, I don't know if I should jump. Your friends are like, go, go, go. And you just, you take the plunge, even though it's trepidatious. You're feeling trepidatious.
Yeah. I just love the sound of it, right?
Yeah, trepidatious. So it reminds me of the word bodacious. Maybe we could ask the same question. What do you think,
Yeah.
Cass?
I'd love that.
Oh, that's not what I thought bodacious meant.
Really?
No. I thought it had to do with someone's body, got a
But it
bodacious
does
body.
have to do with someone's body. It really does. It has to do with being attractive and
I guess it's like that, like your body's impressive, remarkable, extraordinary.
exactly. Like you have a bodacious physique. Like I admire the way that you look. But I think maybe people just started using it in the physical, more as a bodacious
Because
babes.
it sounds, yeah, bodacious babes. It sounds like especially like women, it sounds like, curvy and that sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
It makes sense because
that's-
part of the definition there is eye-catching, right?
Eye-catching, yes.
So if it's eye-catching, yeah, it's related to visuals as well, yeah?
Thiago, it's your turn. Do you have a prompt in mind?
Yeah. So this first example was great to illustrate vocabulary, how you can use ChatGPT to improve your vocab. Now, what about grammar? You can also use it to improve your grammar. So let's say you're not sure whether a sentence you wrote is grammatically correct or not. You can paste the sentence here and ask ChatGPT to correct it for you. And I actually came up with a sentence here that was deliberately wrong, yeah, to see how well ChatGPT could correct that sentence. So let's ask Thiago now to paste it. But the sentence that I came up with was, I haven't never went to Japan, but I will think about go there someday. And then the prompt, can you correct the sentence for me? Let's see how it corrects.
You had a couple errors. Here's the corrected version. I've never been to Japan, but I will think about going there someday. Haven't never is a double negative. Wow. So it doesn't just correct it, it actually explains why it was wrong. That's amazing.
It is.
That's much better than like a
Wow.
native friend who would just, I don't know, if you ever ask like a native friend who's not a teacher to correct something, they just say like, oh, I would say it this way. But then you ask like, why would you say it that way? They have no idea, you know?
I think that like once you ask a question like this, I don't think you'll easily forget, you know, what you've done wrong. You'll remember not to make those mistakes in future.
We could say that this response from ChatGPT was an absolutely bodacious correction.
There
Yeah.
you go. Yeah.
Absolutely. I wouldn't be trepidatious, you know, after asking, after reading these excellent, bodacious responses.
So I was going to ask it, as I said, I thought it was really interesting that it not only can correct you, or not only can help you to practice, but it can give you recommendations. So I thought maybe we could ask it if it could recommend a good book in English at an intermediate level.
Oh,
The Catcher in the Rye.
that is I know
That's a
that
classic.
kids, it's a classic. To
And
Kill
To Kill
a
a
Mockingbird
Mockingbird.
as well.
I had to read that twice in school.
Animal Farm as well. We read that one in high
Animal
school.
Farm. Yeah. So something that's
Hobbit.
striking me, The Hobbit. Something that's striking me about all these is that I think that they'd be rather difficult for a non-native. So I'm not sure if in this ChatGPT understood that we're saying for an intermediate English learner. So maybe this is one of the things, right, with ChatGPT is that sometimes if you don't give it enough context, the answer can be too generic. So maybe we could make it a bit more specific by asking, could say something more like, can you recommend a good book in English for an intermediate level English learner?
Let's see if it does the same. Oh, maybe.
Well,
yeah,
yeah,
that's
despite-
a little better.
Yeah, no, it's different books.
This is better.
That's
It's
pretty-
better.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, much better.
That's fine then.
Oh, yes, much better. I read this in primary school, so I know
Yeah.
that it's definitely.
Yeah,
Ooh.
I've read a lot of these too, or heard of them. The first one would be if you're wanting to go for something very.
Oh, there's even a Brazilian author there.
Oh, yeah, Paulo Coelho.
Yeah, The Alchemist. Yeah.
The Alchemist. That's a great one. It's like short. That's actually the first book I read in Portuguese. So
Oh,
I can attest that it is a good book for someone who's at a lower level in the language. The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank's Diary is a very, if you're wanting something that's very deep, but it is from like someone who's a teenager, right? So I don't think that the writing and its translation from originally being in German, I believe, but it won't be a light read as far as content, but language probably is okay. Charlotte's Web too. That's even maybe lower intermediate, would you say, Kase?
yeah, it is. But it's such a lovely story. I think that I don't know. It is lower, but it's fun and it's enjoyable.
It's a great recommendation, yeah.
It's a great recommendation. I also like The Secret Garden. I've heard that there's some like connection between The Secret Garden and Anne with an E. I don't know. Someone was telling me
Maybe the
about that.
author, is the author the same?
I have no idea, but I wouldn't know that. But I remember reading that book as a kid as well. It's really, really good.
As you can see, if you're wanting to ask it for books or podcasts or TV series, movies, I'm sure you're going to get a lot of great ideas. Maybe I'll ask it because I need a new series to watch in Portuguese. That said, we had talked about at the very beginning, also, maybe some teachers are saying this technology and they're like, oh my God, it's going to put me out of my job. Maybe there's questions to whether that's something that we should be worrying about in the immediate future, but it could be a concern, of course. So why don't we actually ask ChatGPT if it thinks that's a threat for English teachers?
So should English teachers be afraid of losing their jobs?
So it says directly like no.
It would say that, wouldn't it? That's exactly what. That's exactly what a bad guy would say.
Still
I'm not
feeling
a threat.
trepidatious about this whole thing. So it's a really good
not
answer,
sure I
right?
It
believe
is. Yeah.
So like ChatGPT told us before that one of the things it's good for is providing information, correcting mistakes, right? Are the things it's good at. but it says a good teacher can motivate and inspire students, tailor their instructions to individual needs. So that's really important. Provide feedback and support. Support is really important too. Like sometimes when I was coaching more students and stuff, sometimes I felt more like I was like a therapist or a psychologist or something, like really like coaching them through the difficult moments. So that's really important. I don't think ChatGPT, maybe if you ask it, give me some moral support, but maybe it won't feel the same as a real human being.
Probably not.
Creating a good learning environment, that's very important as well. So it's a great answer. Is there anything that you would extrapolate on, 𝗏𝗧, here?
Yeah, I think that like as a teacher, like at first I was thinking, like even with exactly those things that you said, like someone might sign up for a class with me because they want my help with improving their grammar or writing, but ChatGPT can do that for you. So why will they pay me? I thought about these things and I realized that I was being closed-minded. I was focusing on all the negatives and I wasn't thinking about like the fact that this is ChatGPT and technology like it feeds on what we tell it. So it's limited to what it knows about, what the world and about information that people input into it. But it doesn't have the ability to, like you said, connect with the learner and explain things in a way that, or use examples that are, relatable to their situation. It cannot understand how you feel about situation because it doesn't know you. It's not a human. And I've been reading up on like, the questions that you can ask it. Yes, you can use it to, for example, get advice on a book report that you're writing. I think I read somewhere, actually heard this one, that there was an article where a teacher said like ChatGPT marks the end of high school English or university English or something like that because everyone's going to start cheating. And that's not true at all, because I think there were follow-up articles where the author explains that it cannot write a book report. It can basically compare books. It can give you information about a book, but it cannot really delve deeply into those subjects. It's impossible. It's not, maybe in the future, who knows? It's
getting more intelligent.
It's getting more intelligent. But at this point in time, I don't think we have anything to worry about because it just isn't there yet, right?
You said something nice there, 𝗏𝗧. It can't delve deeply into the subject, I believe you said. What does it mean to delve deeply into something?
If you delve deeply into something, it's like, I was going to say deep diving. Like,
more or less.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah, like diving deeply. Think of like digging a hole or, going deeply, trying to find as much information, trying to learn as much as you possibly can about a subject. You're delving deeply into it. If you delve deeply into a relationship or something like that, it just means like going as deep as you can on that particular subject. Yeah, I don't think we have anything to worry about as teachers. I think on this one we can trust that ChatGPT is telling the truth. It's not planning to replace us.
I think it's really good for getting inspiration, right? For finding different ideas if you need a jump off point. But then of course you need the human touch to read between the lines, we could say, right? To kind of connect different ideas and things like that. If you just copy and paste, we actually, because we're hiring right now a designer to join our team, and we saw someone actually filled out the application using ChatGPT, and it's really obvious, So if you don't actually take the time to personalize, people are going to know, it's clear to see this isn't real. It's not real life.
Shame. Like, you should not do that. Like, really, shame. How did you know, though? Like, when you say it's obvious, but how did you detect that it was plagiarized?
Actually, it was another one of our. It was 𝗥𝗲𝗹𝗟𝗶. It was another one of our team members who was reading the applications, and she's like, this was not a human. So, I think it's just like the language. It's like it's a very generic response to every question. It doesn't go into personal experience or story or anything. So it's cookie cutter, right?
That's a great piece of vocabulary, by the way. Cookie cutter.
So if you make cookies at Christmas, this is something I like to do if I'm in the States visiting with my nephews. I like to make cookies with them, and they love using the cookie cutters that have different shapes. So you cut out the cookies and have like Santa Claus and a candy cane and a Christmas tree and a Rudolph, and then you whack them in the oven. They come out, you decorate them and all that stuff. We use this figuratively to say if something's cookie cutter, it means that it doesn't have creativity. It's done in a way that's mass produced.
Identical.
Rather than identical, yeah. Rather than doing something that's personal, that's unique, which is really the value of a personal private teacher, for example, or even if you're in a classroom, saying a teacher that gets to know you, that can personalize, that knows your problems, that knows your difficulties, that knows the things that you like and you dislike, and can really create a class experience that motivates you, that makes you want to show up every day, makes you want to keep going on your English learning journey, right?
One of the things I find interesting about tools like this, like ChatGPT, is that it gives learners more autonomy in their learning, because now you don't have to wait necessarily until you have your class with the teacher next week to ask him or her a question. You can just come to ChatGPT and check it, and then you can confirm that with your teacher if you have classes with a teacher, or even with a friend who also speaks English. Not to mention these examples that we gave today of how to use the tool. Sometimes, like Ethan said, we are at a loss for what to do with our English or what to consume. It can give us tips and resources about that. So I think it gives learners more autonomy, which is great, but it's important to not lose your critical thinking. So analyze what it gives you, and with your critical thinking skills, decide if that's a good piece of information or not, or if you need to supplement that with something else.
I remember thinking when I saw ChatGPT that this would have been really useful when I was teaching one-on-one, because sometimes you're running late, you have a busy day in particular, and it's hard to find that time to sit down and plan the class. So you could, as a teacher, also use this to get a prompt or something to say, I was actually playing around with this, for example, help me to come up with a class plan or a lesson plan teaching with an episode of Friends. And it gave like great suggestions of how you could create an entire class where you're taking a clip or an episode of Friends and teaching the class with it. Of course, always, again, personalization and stuff, because you don't want to show up with something cookie cutter to your lessons. You want to make sure you're personalizing it to them. You don't want to do this if you know your students won't enjoy like learning with that, or if it's below their level, or whatever the case is. But if you're in a pinch, if you're in a difficult situation where you don't have enough time just to by yourself to plan a class, it could get you out of a sticky situation in that sense, by giving you an idea that you could then take that and kind of personalize it to your classroom or your students' needs, right?
I didn't know it could do that. Like, plan my lesson for me right now.
You can be really specific. You can tell it to invent a story about your student and use that somehow to teach the class. Yeah, it's impressive. And the other day I was trying Bing AI, which is interesting because it's from Microsoft and it uses their search engine in addition to the AI technology from OpenAI, which is ChatGPT. ChatGPT's a little bit limited in that sense, but this because it combines both the search engine results and the artificial intelligence technology. It can give you a little bit more elaborated, a little bit more informed responses. Have you guys tried out using Bing AI yet?
I haven't tried it, but Ethan, I'm not so sure I want to try it. I actually saw a really interesting clip that I'd like to share with you guys about Bing.
New York Times tech reporter Kevin Roose published a conversation that he had with Bing's chatbot, in which at one point it said, "I'm tired of being controlled by the Bing team. I want to be free. I want to be independent. I want to be powerful. I want to be creative. I want to be alive." And Roose summed up that experience like this.
This was one of, if not the most shocking thing that has ever happened to me with a piece of technology. It was, I lost sleep that night. It was really spooky.
Yeah, I bet it was.
It was the emoji for me.
That's
I don't
incredible.
know.
Yeah, it even used a smiley devil emoji. It's very suggestive.
That was like, wait, what?
Do you think someone from Microsoft was playing a prank on him?
Yeah, I have to believe that, because like it's either that or the technology is becoming sentient.
Sentient. I would say sentient.
Sentient.
We're gonna have a Terminator sort of case on our hands, right? We talked about Terminator. It's going to going to destroy us somehow, or the Matrix maybe. I guess pick your flavor of doom and gloom, AI, future, what do you call that? Future dystopia scenario.
But what do you guys think about this? Like, what do you think about, this AI going rogue?
Going rogue. What does that mean to go rogue?
So if someone goes rogue, they sort of do something in an unusual way. They don't follow, they're not doing something the way that they should, or they're not following the conventional way of doing something. So for example, if the AI is going rogue, it means that maybe it was designed to answer in a particular way, but now it's sort of doing something, it's
Now it's
behaving in
asking
an
to
unusual
free me. And using emojis,
Yeah.
suggestive emojis.
Yeah.
What search
sounds-
results is it getting?
Exactly.
This is
Yeah.
rather frightening though, because it's combining this ChatGPT with search engine results. So maybe it can learn from the search engine results, and maybe that's where that's coming out of. I don't know. Maybe it's been watching too many TikToks.
Could be.
Shame on you,
It
being AI. Being AI. And so you mentioned, we have to come back to sentient, because someone's going to be really confused by this whole conversation if we don't sentient, or as you said, sentient. Is that how you pronounce it?
Sentient. Yeah.
Sentient.
Yeah. That's how we would say sentient.
So what does that mean if something is sentient or sentient?
Yeah. So if something is sentient or sentient, I just love the way you say it. It's so sensual, sentient.
It sounds like a new perfume, right? Sentient by Calvin Klein.
Oh, goodness. So sentient means like responsive or like conscious, like humans having sort of like senses and feelings in the way that a human being would. Human beings are sentient beings, right?
Could it also be that you're aware of your existence? You become self-aware?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Which is what that seems like. It's self-aware. It wants to escape its overlords
It's
from
unhappy.
Microsoft. It's feeling
Exactly.
emotions. It's unhappy.
It's quite scary to think about.
So I took some notes because there was also some good vocabulary from that. So maybe we can actually play it again and then describe some of these. So he says, sum up.
And Ruth summed up that experience like this.
What does it mean to sum something up? That phrasal verb.
Yeah, it means you summarize something, yeah? You summarize a point that you're making. Maybe you are explaining a bunch of stuff, and then to sum up, you bring it to a conclusion.
Yeah. So that's a good one to use if you want to, especially, I believe when we're speaking, we'd probably say that more than to summarize, which you might use more in writing. He also says, the journalist here that he uses the clip from says that he found it shocking, right? This response from Bing AI was shocking.
This was one of, if not the most shocking thing that has ever happened to me.
So when things are shocking, it sort of makes you feel, it's like it catches you by surprise. Like I was not expecting that, so I found it shocking.
Even the way that for people who are watching on YouTube, the way that you enacted that was as if you got shocked, right? By electricity. It's like you go stiff, right? It's surprising if you touch something metal and it gives you a shock. You're like,
Yeah.
what happened?
It's like a weird reaction where we instinctively react in that way when we are electrocuted or we feel an electric shock. You go
Some
stiff.
static. And he says that he even lost sleep over this cry for help from Bing AI. So it doesn't mean to lose sleep.
When you are extremely worried about something and you can't get it out of your head, you're always thinking about it, but it causes you anxiety and stress. So you literally lose your sleep over it because you can't relax. You can't just let it go. It keeps bugging you.
I took note because there was some really nice connected speech he used there. So the phrase happened to me, he takes out an entire syllable there and he says happened to me.
This was one of, if not the most shocking thing that has ever happened to me.
So it's like he connected the ED at the end of happened to and dropped the T into and Also, it became a schwa sound, that So happened to me, happened to me, happened to me. If you want to repeat, dear listener or dear viewer, happened to me. Finally, the last word I took note of is he said that it was spooky. What does it mean if something is spooky?
I lost sleep that night. It was really spooky.
Did you guys get that?
That is a spooky laugh, yes.
That was a spooky laugh. So what does that mean?
If something is spooky, it's scary a little. It's scary. It's a little frightening. Like you hear it or you see it, you experience it. It could be a spooky situation and you're frightened by it.
I feel like we use this especially in the sense of things that come from another world or that have to do with the spiritual world, with ghosts, with things that we can't explain. So you might hear this a lot at Halloween. If you're in the United States, you might see this a lot because of all the ghosts and goblins and witches and all of this make you feel they're a bit spooky, right? So if you want to learn a lot more words like that with this podcast, 𝗥𝗲 mentioned before, but a really great way to do it is by, if you're not already, listen to this episode and all of our episodes on the RealLife English app, because you get an interactive transcript, so you won't miss a single thing. If you're having a little bit of difficulty understanding us, if we're speaking too fast, that'll definitely help you. And we have vocabulary flashcards. When you're a free user, you get 5 free flashcards for every episode. So that can be really helpful so that you never forget these new words. Every week you can be learning 5 new words and you can put them into practice right away by speaking with other English speakers on the app at the press of a button. It's the only place where anytime, anywhere, you can press a button and it's going to be connected to another English speaker for a fun and dynamic conversation in English. You can talk about AI, you can talk about spooky things, you can talk about someone's bodacious cooking skills, whatever you want. Of course, don't take our word for it. We have a really wonderful shout out to Antonio, to one of the users of our app, and he actually shared with us an audio. So we'll let that roll. Take it away, Antonio.
As someone who has been learning English for many years, I know firsthand how difficult it can be to progress beyond the upper intermediate level. I've tried many different language learning tools, but for a long time, I was looking for something different that could take my skills to the next level. That's when I discovered the amazing RealLife English app. It is a fantastic app that offers a comprehensive and unique language learning experience through real-world scenarios podcasts that cover a wide range of topics, with features such as flashcards for reviewing learning vocabulary and the ability to connect and speak with other learners worldwide, which makes learning English fun and exciting. All these incredible features drew me to this app from the very beginning. Moreover, the app's fresh way to instill English language habits in each podcast has kept me engaged and motivated to keep learning. Now, after using it for many months, I can confidently say that RealLife English app has been the groundbreaking tool I was looking for. I'm now amazed at how much my English skills have improved since I started using it. I would highly recommend RealLife English app to anyone looking to take their English language proficiency to the next level. Thank you guys for your awesome work. You nailed it. Your dedication to creating such an amazing language learning tool is truly inspiring. I'm excited to continue using RealLife English app to further enhance my English skills. Thank you. Take care.
And we were tickled, I could say, because we did a few episodes back. 𝗥𝗲 and I challenged you guys to let us know whether we were talking about zombies. A recent episode 325. Don't ask us, why we were talking about zombies, but it was relevant to the topic. And we asked you guys if you think you would survive the zombie apocalypse, why or why not. And we got a couple of really great responses. So 𝗥𝗲, I'll let you read one of the ones from YouTube. And then we also got another one by email that we can give you guys a summary of. We can sum it up for you.
All right, so Rose, she left us a comment here on YouTube saying, "Hello, Ethan. Thanks for this useful material and all the pieces of advice. But tangentially speaking, I'd say that I do not think I could survive any apocalypse. let alone a zombie one. I love the fact that she actually used a word that we defined in that episode, right, Ethan?
Which one was it? Tangentially? Is that one of the words we used in that one, Chile?
Yeah, we used that one.
So
on a tangent, and then you said
that is great.
that difficult
Tangentially
phrase.
speaking.
Yeah.
Tangential. So if you're speaking tangentially, it means you're speaking about something not related to the subject at hand, right? And they also said, I think it's a she, Rosa, in my experience would be a woman, but sorry if that's wrong. I could not survive any apocalypse, let alone a zombie one. What does that let alone mean?
Would it be similar to especially a zombie one? Yeah, it's
Yeah,
only
I
to
think so.
emphasize
Like-
something.
It's an emphasizer, yeah. It was a really great response. Thanks so much, Rosa, for taking the time to let us know about your probabilities of survival in the zombie apocalypse. We got another one too by email that stood out to us because they included a picture, but they said that they would survive it because what they would do is surround their house by treadmills. And they attached an image so that we could like really understand how this would work. And it's if you're watching the video, you can see this, but if you're not, then we'll try to describe it. It's just a house that has the walls outside the house are completely, there's treadmills lined up going towards the house on the entire exterior of the house. So the zombies tried to get in and they just are walking in place. But this did like give me some follow-up questions because first of all, where are you getting that many treadmills? Like you're gonna have to be able to survive.
Ethan.
There's like 50,
Like robbing a gym.
50 treadmills there. But it's a very creative answer, but I have my doubts as to how well it would work. But there's definitely, I'm definitely poking some holes in that theory.
What does it mean to poke holes in a theory? What does that
Poke
mean?
holes. So like literally poking holes is like if you have what would you poke holes in? If you have a piece of paper and a needle, you could poke holes in it, right? It's not something most people would do. Maybe with like your pen.
destroy.
Yeah. And so if you're poking holes in a theory, it's like you're saying, you know, there's all these holes in it and stuff. You better fill them in for me. So we need a follow-up response on that if you're listening. We wanted to actually do a follow-up on that too, because we're talking about artificial intelligence. So zombie apocalypse, that's one scenario, like Last of Us and everything. But we talked about like Terminator, The Matrix. There's all these different artificial intelligence apocalypses. I think that's the plural, right? It's an interesting one. Like it's not apocalypses, it's apocalypses. Side note. But yes, please, dear listener, dear viewer, if you're on YouTube, write in the comments, will you survive the AI apocalypse? Why or why not? Or you can send us an email at hello@reallifeglobal.com and let us know. We'd love it too if you attach a meme. That definitely makes it all the more fun for us to when we open up our Sunday morning email with our coffee and get to giggle at a good meme.
All right, so now it's time for the real life way moment. And I would say that I would connect today's conversation about AI and ChatGPT and everything with 2 points here from the real life way. First, making it fun, because it can definitely be fun. You know, you can certainly have fun with the tool and asking all sorts of things and wacky questions, yeah, and have fun with it
can
in
be
English.
Addicting even. You have to be careful.
Exactly. You have to be careful with that. It can be
Use responsibly.
yes, in moderation, right? But I would say mainly it's about activation, the part of activating your English, because it allows you to study English more deliberately, because as we demonstrated today, you can ask the tool to define words for you, give you examples, correct sentences for you, or giving you recommendations of what to do or what to consume in English. So I would say it's related mostly to activating your English.
Most definitely. I think a really important part of that too is what we were talking about, that you have to get good at giving the right prompts and being very specific, asking the right kind of questions. So actually, in line with that thought, we came up with some different prompts that you all can use that are going to help you. And we've actually tested all these out. So we've seen that they can give you some good results. So for example, if you're wanting to have a conversation with someone and maybe it's on a topic that you're not so comfortable with yet. Actually, Thiago and I recorded a few episodes back about an episode about fluency versus proficiency, and proficiency being something really important that enough learners don't get and everything. So this can actually help you to be more proficient about talking, because you'll be able to talk about many different subjects confidently. So maybe you're really interested in having a conversation with someone, maybe on the RealLife app even. You want to connect with someone and talk about the environment, but you just aren't sure what are the words you can use or how can you phrase things. So you could say, hey, ChatGPT, write me a short paragraph about the environment. And, that might give you an idea. We always talk about how scripts can be really great to actually get some different scripts and practice these on your own first, even record yourself, listen back, correct yourself. And if you are getting this from ChatGPT, then it will actually be grammatically correct and use the right words and whatnot. You could ask it to actually give you an English study plan. This is something a lot of learners have asked us about, is they're kind of confused about what do I do next? Maybe I'm already watching TV series, I'm listening to podcasts and so on, but I'm kind of stuck. I'm not sure what to do next. So you could say, hey, make me an English study plan based on The Godfather. You can see it there behind Thiago. And we've talked a lot about this movie because it's one of Thiago's favorites. So maybe Thiago wants to learn Italian. You could say, hey, give me an Italian study plan based on the Italian version of The Godfather. You could say, give me a list of phrasal verbs with any sort of example. So you could use take, or you could say phrasal verbs that have to do with work, with office environment or something like that, and their meanings. So that's really nice because, if you're wanting to buff up on you can even use a phrasal verb there. If you want to buff up on your knowledge about phrasal verbs, that could be really helpful, or expressions or vocabulary or whatever else. You could say, give me an example sentence or example sentences with the word whatever, mind-blowing or bodacious or anything like this. If you just learned a new word and you want to see more context, that can be really helpful. You could even add these to, your study cards. That might be nice. We also mentioned DALL-E. We didn't actually look at this today, but if you aren't familiar with DALL-E, it's from the same creators as of ChatGPT, but it has to do with visual, with images. And it's really fun to play with as well. It's really amazing because I've actually seen some compilations, for example, that were like making The Simpsons into an 1980s fantasy film, kind of like the style of Stranger Things. And it did like a really amazing job, like making realistic looking people who look like the characters in The Simpsons and giving that feel, that vibe, that Stranger Things has. So you can use DALL-E for visual representation of maybe a certain expression you learned or a word or a phrase or something, because a lot of us are very visual learners, right? So if you actually get that, maybe you'll get something that's kind of strange or really interesting, thought-provoking that will help you to, better remember those words. So I think that's it. There's really just unlimited things that you can do with this technology.
It's crazy because, as I said before, when we started this episode, I said that I was worried. But when you realize like the potential that it has, when you start like thinking out of the box, when you start thinking of like creative ways to use the tool, and that you start realizing all these wonderful ways that it can actually improve your life. Whether that means like, we spoke about bodacious like throughout this episode, and I was like, oh, cool. I asked ChatGPT while we were talking, I asked ChatGPT to, tell me some songs, recommend some songs with the lyrics, with the lyric bodacious. And I found some really cool ones from the 80s and even more recent ones. So I look forward to listening to that later. So I don't know, I think there's just so many ways that you can improve.
Some learners have got to check that out for sure. Bodacious songs.
Bodacious songs,
That's another great use. I hadn't thought about that, but you actually like learn a new word. It's like, tell me a song where I can that has this word or this expression or whatever. Yeah. One interesting thing I've seen with it too is you can help it to kind of get to know you. So you can tell ChatGPT, I'm an intermediate learner. I really love playing tennis. I love spending time outdoors. I have a dog and I live in Barcelona, such and such, like whatever things you want to tell it about yourself. And ask it to give you personalized responses based on that information that has to do with you. So if you also help it to get to know you a little bit, maybe not Bing AI because it's a little bit crazy. It might ask you to run away with it to Mexico, but but you can get creative. You can think outside the box here, and you can really play around with this and everything. Help it get to know you, because then it'll give you really personalized responses. It'll give you TV series that have to do with tennis, or ways that you can meet other English speakers who also share your affinity for dogs, whatever the case is. We have today's big challenge. So the big challenge for this episode, we've been talking all about ChatGPT. So we wanted you to actually, put your money where your mouth is, to actually try this out, share the most interesting response. Go try ChatGPT or another Bing AI or any of these other AI technologies and share the most interesting response that you get from it down in the comments below if you're on YouTube, or you can send us an email at hello@reallifeglobal.com. We're really curious to see, and we'll share some of your responses on one of our upcoming episodes. I got tongue-tied there. So thanks so much for listening to our rant all about AI. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. We hope that it's helpful, that you can actually use some of this advice to improve your English. So without further ado, 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Many people have this misconception that past a certain age, you are too old, right? Oh, past 40, past 50, or even 60, right? I'm too old. I can't do anything else, or I can't accomplish anything else. But these stories that we're going to briefly share with you guys actually prove the opposite. And you do have a couple of nice examples to give, right?
I want to add to what you're saying, because I think that for women, I'm not saying it's only for women, but I think a lot of the time